Welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of the big barn owl, and on today's video I'm going to finish the top side of the bird off, doing the back of the wings and back, and then make a start on the base and finish the base, and then paint it all up and varnish it. And the piece of wood's got a nice knot in there, so I thought I'd use the natural feature of the wood as a bit of a feather pattern. So later on I'm going to draw paint on circles along the rest of the feathers, but obviously the middle feather is going to be using the natural feature of the wood, which is the knot, as a bit of the feather pattern. And so now like I've got the wood turned over, we've got the screws out, we've got the dowels into the tail. I'm just finishing the last bit of neck and head feathers, so just the same as what I did on either side, sort of make it like it's little tiny feathers laid up on top of each other, so then I can make a start on the top of the wing feather pattern. And I'm starting off with the big feathers, the primary feathers, and then just using the MSA 160C there with the 8-inch dime tip carving bar on, cannon carving bar on there. And I'm just trying to make the feathers the same as well. Like, got loads of like curves and S's and flow nicely. Like at the top of the feather, you've got it so it's like S in that way, and then bending back out and then down. So even the feathers look like they've got like movement in them. Well, I probably stayed up a bit later than I should have on this wing. And I was up probably till like 2 or 3 in the morning doing the feathers, so about halfway down, or a third of the way down from the top, I started going a bit deep, so you can see the last 2/3 going from in towards the body, how it goes in so much. So note to self, don't stay up so late just because you're in the zone, because you're not actually in the zone. And things don't turn out as good as they would as if you had a break and slept and went back to it the next day. And then I've just decided to use the file sander on there with a medium to coarse paper on there to do a bit of remove a deep fair amount. And then I just use like the edge of it, the edge and the tip of the tip, and then go in at an angle as if you was going to use your chainsaw, but imagine that the paper on the file sander as your chain going around, just scrape the tip around and then flick it at the end to do the smaller feathers. So this is the top side of the wing that I was carried on doing till like 2 or 3 AM, and you can see there where I've took so much of the thickness off, I've gone right through to the other side, so I'll repair that later on in the video. So this technique of how I'm doing the feathers on the back is the same technique that I used on the leg feathers. So I'm just using imagine the file sander's like your chainsaw, so the bolt goes round the same way as the chain goes round. So the bottom of your chainsaw is what you'd want to use for doing detail so it doesn't bounce around and you've got good control over it. So it's the same with the file sander. You use the bottom of the file sander so you've got more control and it's not trying to bounce around. So that's like actual speed. I've slowed it down a bit and done it a bit slower so you can see exactly what I'm doing there. And I find having the bounce sander at quite a high speed setting, probably like one lower than the highest. So mine goes up to 6, but I have it like between 4 or 5. It's just smoother, and I have it quite a coarse grit paper on there as well. But it's just as fast as using the chainsaw, except not as heavy and easier to control. So it's quite a good little way of getting some good feather patterns on there and different textures on. Something else maybe you could use it to do fur as well, like the file sander probably, I don't know whether I use it as much as my chainsaw, but it's definitely the second most used, if not the most used tool that I've got. This is the first wing that I did. Stayed up a bit too late, probably about 2 AM, and did these feathers. So I went a bit too far in with the chainsaw. So I'm going to see how this turns out. Just mix a load of sawdust and that with some glue. So hopefully when that hardens, I'll be able to reshape it into a feather, and then I'm going to spray paint it white before I add the detail to the feathers and colour of the feathers and things like that. So hopefully that turns out okay. So I'm going to do big rocks as the base, because I think it will make it pop. So I'm going to draw some big rocks on now. So this one here could be the first rock. I'm just going to go across there like that, and around there like that. And this can be a smaller rock Then we'll come into there like that. Then we could make this one a rock. It's a bit thinner at one side than the other. And this one could be like a rock that's on a slant there, like that. And then two thinner pieces there. Just imagine it like you're looking at like a stone wall, or however you want to imagine it. And then two boulders, maybe even like 4 boulders, you never know by the time I get round to it. And then boulder there, and then this could be a big one there. So this, I'll probably put a line on the other side and make this piece, this section here, a big rock, 2 thinner rocks, 2 fat rocks, so half the size of the logs. On the other side I'll put a line parallel to this line, and then this line here I'll put another line parallel, so you'll have 2 thin rocks, boulder there, and then this one a big rock all the way around. I might end up putting a line down it so it's like you've got a bit more texture in there like that, a few slits into it. And then here, nice big boulder, smaller boulder. I'm going to just go over my marker pen line with the Makita chainsaw first of all. Get them, cut and try and cut like 90 degrees to your line. And then once I've done the chainsaw cut on the line, got the die grinder with a flame burr on there, original coarse silver cut saw burr on there to just widen the chainsaw line, and then put the round edges over, because like obviously boulders aren't squared, are they? They haven't got square edges, they've got nice round edges. So yeah, chainsaw first, get your outline going, and then go into the outline with the die grinder just to give it round edges, a bit more separation between the rocks. So I'm going to try drilling through the centre of this log as it's quite moist to see if that reduces the cracking, so that it can dry from the middle and the outside. Let's see how that goes. There we go. Got the extension on there. So the spade bit, 32mm, and I'm going to just go as deep as I can into the log. But like I said, all I'm doing with the die grinder is just rounding over the corners of the rock so it's like smooth round edges. And then once I've rounded them over with the die grinder, I'm going to come back across with file sander in tight gaps to do a bit of sanding in the tighter areas, and then angle grinder where I've got a good wide bit of the rock to go in there and sand the edge of the rock and in the crack of the rock. And then once I've done the sanding with the angle grinder, as much as I can do with the angle grinder and the file sander, I come back with my 1" emery cloth attachment that I put on the end of my Dremel to just grip right in the crevices and cracks of the rocks. So I've decided to make rocks as the base, like boulders for the base of the owl, and I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out. I've sanded it all down. That's like a repair. Might paint that a little bit white, like wood coloured, before I do the detail on the owl. But other than that, we're ready for paint. So I'm just mixing grey paint with a lot of water. Don't really do a ratio just so it looks milky. So then when we paint our wood, because we've added so much water to the paint, it's almost like a stain, so it's going to be like a grey stain, so you can see all this nice grain popping out through the grey, and obviously the grey so it looks like rocks. So I'm just going to get that mixed up and get the rock base done now. And all the paint I've used there is just normal acrylic paint, and then it's just a lid off some sort of aerosol can, that red tub is, and then I just put a blob of brown paint in there, normal acrylic paint, mix it with a decent amount of water so that it's still quite thick but thin enough to come through the airbrush smoothly, and then it's just trial and error. I don't like actually have a ratio of what water to paint, but I do it until it comes out and I can spray it, and it comes out in a nice continuous spray, but like I haven't got the pressure up so high that I can't be like do detail and do it neatly, but not the paint so thin that I have to do a million coats, so it takes a week. But the whole paint up all together I think took me 3.5 hours, so all these wings with the airbrush took me like 3.5 hours, but worth it. So yeah, just normal acrylic paint, TimberTech airbrush, mix your paint down, water it down with just water I use, and so it comes out in a nice even spray. And then there you go, put some lines on the wings for the feather patterns, and did the toes in a similar colour, or the same colour, but put a few more coats on so it's darker, and it's definitely worth doing, makes it pop. So this part here is like fast forwarded like 8 times and then 4 times, so however that many, however much fast forward that turns out to be. And like I say, it took me 3.5–4 hours to paint both sides with the brown, and then came back the next day with the black in between the rocks. So I'm still getting used to using the Timbertech airbrush as well. Like the most I've used it was on the eagle that I made the last time, and after doing the water with that, making it like look so much better if you take your time and add a little bit of paint to it as well. So it's definitely worth the investment, and makes all the difference to the finished product. Like the eagle's water wouldn't look the same if it wasn't painted up with the airbrush. And I think the feathers on this have turned out good as well with the airbrush. So yeah, I reckon an airbrush is definitely worth the investment as well. Good thing about the airbrush is it's like watering down the grey paint with a normal paintbrush. Like if you because you're watering down the paint in the airbrush as well, lets all the grain come through the paint. So it's almost like using a stain as well, so you can still see all the grain through all the paint you put on there. As long as you don't put too many coats in that. And so that's good as well, you can still see all the wood grain through the paint. And then once the grey paint had dried, just put some black paint into the airbrush and painted the cracks in between the rocks, so it's like the shadows between the rocks. And I've just got the Dremel 4300 with the 125 bit in there. So I've started signing what I've done, and signing it where I've used paint on the work. And then once I've signed it, I sand that like a little sort of like a bubble. It's like the outline around my signature, so you can see it on the natural wood colour. So that's all the airbrushing done, and then off camera I just use a little hand paintbrush to do solid black acrylic on the eyes, waited for the solid black to dry, and then just put a little dot of solid white acrylic for the sparkle in the eye. So that's it, ready for varnish. I've got some Ron Teal yacht varnish, satin finish, and I've put 50% varnish, 50% white spirit. So 300 mils of one, 300 mils of the other, so 1:1 ratio, 50-50, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm just going to try using just a normal sprayer because of all the cleanup that you have to do with the other one. It's colder outside now, so going in and out, you got wet shoes and muddy shoes. So I'm going to see if this works. So let's see how that turns out. Just a normal sprayer. There we go. Nice. And then whatever's spinning on my worktop, I'm just going to rub into the worktop. Don't waste your varnish. There you go. Normal sprayer, 1:1 ratio of white spirit to varnish. Nice coverage. last coat of varnish on the owl, trying to dry it out. Nearly emptied everything out of the workshop, ready to take it down tomorrow. So last time I make a video in this workshop. Couple more things to empty out, and then onwards and upwards. New place, new workshop. So my last carving in this workshop, biggest one yet, 7 foot 1 inches tall. Thanks for watching it, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Maybe found some of the tips that I put in there useful. Learn from my mistakes so you don't have to learn from yours. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll leave you with a little bit of footage of the finished product, so you can see how all the feathers and the paint all turned out once it's got I think I've ended up putting 4 layers of varnish on there. The first 2 were mixed with the white spirit, and then the last 2 solid varnish. So it's just so the first 2 coats dry quicker. I use the white spirit, thins it out, that evaporates faster, dries, so then your varnish dries faster, and then once you've got them 2 coats on, you've sealed your wood, then I just use straight varnish. So yeah, thanks again for watching.